Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. Hi guys, welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. Today we have Krista Stubbs here with us. Hi Krista, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't you introduce yourself and kind of what makes you a waiting warrior, what's your husband's job, your family situation, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So my husband just joined the Navy just over a year ago. He is a Navy lawyer. It's called JAG. So he's a Navy JAG. And we were professional students for a really long time while he was in school, and then finished his bachelor's degree and then went on for his law degree. And we have 2 little boys, and we currently live in Hawaii. So that's fun, far away from family and whatnot, but it's Hawaii, so it's cool.
It can't be too bad if it's
pretty
Hawaii,
great.
right?
It's a pretty good setup. If you're going to live far away, Hawaii is a good way to do it. So
That's what I was telling my husband. We just got our first active duty assignment, and, you know, they pretend to let you pick.
Right.
Maybe we should just put Hawaii, because if we're going to be far away, might as well have a nice beach.
Yep, that was kind of us. We put it as our number 2, thinking it would never happen. And then we were like, oh, look, we get to go live in Hawaii. So, all right. We'll do this.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
So
cool.
I have to ask, what is it like having a husband that's a lawyer in the military? Because I feel like that would be different than most other jobs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty different than obviously enlisted and a lot of officers. He works kind of 8 to 5 is kind of a normal thing. He usually works from like 7:30 or whatever till like 4:35, and then he's home. Occasionally, like if there's like a big case or whatever, he'll work late. But they do send lawyers out still, so he could still, deploy in our future. But they don't use as many on shifts, so there's not as many spots for them to go out. It kind of helps your career if you do go out and go on a ship to stay in the military. So if we want to make this like a long-term career, he will eventually go out and be on a ship and do the law of the, international law and sea law and all that stuff.
So interesting. When I heard that he was a lawyer, I just had to ask, because that's not something,
right.
It's something you see in the movies a whole lot, but to know if he really felt like Tom Cruise or not, what that.
Yeah, no, his dad was a lawyer in the military when Navy JAG was a TV show. And my husband liked to watch it when he was a kid. And my father-in-law would be like, yeah, that's not my job. It's not that cool. It's not like... The movie's way cooler than what I actually do every day, but he still decided to try it out. So here we are.
That's funny. So, for the listeners don't know this, but when I'm finding people to be on the podcast, I always send them the same questions. And sometimes, in the past, I've asked everybody those questions. But there's one question that I really want to talk to you, Krista, about. It was, what do you do for self-care? And you mentioned something about a happiness journal, and I am very, very curious about what that is.
Yeah, so I actually got this idea from a positive psychology. There's a book about positive psychology called Flourishing by the founder of positive psychology, Martin Seligman, and he talks about all these things you can do to improve well-being and help fight depression and all these different things. So one of the ideas was a happiness journal, and what you do is every night you write down 3 things that went well that day, but on top of that you write why they went well. So you have to think about, the why this happened to me kind of thing. And it helps even, the hard days where the kids are driving you crazy and you're just like, there's really nothing today. You have to sit at the end of the day and be like, I have to think 3 things that went well today. But it's really made a big difference. I started doing it when my husband was at ODS, officer training. And it made a big difference being away from him and not having him around, to be able to every night be like, all right, we're like, there is good here. And there is something to, be happy about.
Yeah. So how did you find that, I guess, like, were you, is the positive psychology just something you've always been interested in, or did you kind of seek after that because he was gone?
So I've always liked psychology, but I've always felt like it's kind of been, psychology in general focuses a lot on like dealing with, mental illness and whatnot, and how we can prevent mental illness and whatnot. But it kind of stops there. It's like, as long as you're not sick, you're okay, but not like, let's be better. Like, let's have life be the best it can be. And I have a sister who just finished a degree in rec therapy, and she took a class where they talked about positive psychology, actually. And so she told me about the book and was like, you have to read this. It's so great. You'd love it. And it really is great. It's kind of the opposite side of the coin. Like, there's regular psychology, which is obviously needed and important. And we need to be able to, diagnose people and help, with depression, all this stuff. But positive psychology is about how can we live life to the fullest? How can we have well-being? How can we, find joy in all of our little moments, I guess.
Which, what waiting warrior doesn't need that?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this feels like it would apply to, so many people. But I think, us waiting warriors are dealing with a lot of, extra stress in our lives from our spouses' careers. And so I think it brings a lot, it makes it a lot easier when, they're gone for a long time and you're alone, or they're working the crazy hours and it's unpredictable or dangerous and not to be able to find the joy in the madness.
Well, I think it's interesting that it's like, you don't just write the what was good about the day, but the why. Because I've heard of a lot of like gratitude journals and those type of things where you write things that made you happy, things that you're proud of, or things you're just grateful for, because, having gratitude will obviously help you in your life. But I thought it was really interesting that you write why, like that contemplation.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, because my mom always has done like a gratitude journal and wrote down what went well. But the idea of writing why, I was like, that's an interest. Like, why do you write why? And the overall idea is that it makes you sit there and like really it kind of helps you see your core beliefs and why it's important to you and why these things are important to you. So it's, not all the same things would make such an impact on every person and be the things that they wrote down. And so to see like why this is important to me, I have my journal next to me. I don't know if you'd like to hear like one example or anything. So one is from when my husband was gone. His name is Rick, and he was at his training. And it just says, Rick and Char had a great Skype call. We'd really tried hard to have Rick play with Char during the call. They sang songs, played together, played games, and talked. This happened because Rick really cares about connecting with Char, even from a distance.
Okay, I really like that, because then it's not just, oh, we had this call, but you're fully recognizing, acknowledging, and appreciating.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Appreciating that, like, there is a love between your husband and your son. Right.
Yeah. And so they're all kind of like that, where you kind of look deeper at why that was important to you. Like understanding like why this was the thing in amidst all the craziness that like stood out to you, was that little light that you saw.
Wow. So, I like that. Okay. Yeah. Another thing that I really love about you guys, and I haven't even met you, but I love that you guys do this. So you said that you guys are outlining a book. Tell us about, like, how did you come up with that?
So we're pretty nerdy people. Just a background of that. We're both pretty nerdy. Both of us like writing. I'm currently working on a degree in creative writing online. And my husband just has always really enjoyed writing. And we're just trying to figure out more things we can do together in our nerdiness, because he's pretty introverted with a lot of the things he likes to do. And so we're trying to figure out how the things we enjoy can, be together. And we were both, thinking we should write a book. We should, write a story. And he's really good at creating worlds. And I really struggle with that. And I'm really good at creating characters. And so it's like, let's write a book together. Like, let's use the world you've created so I don't have to create a world. And we'll write a book together. So we haven't gotten super far into that, but I think it would be a fun thing to do. He was supposed to participate in RIMPAC, which is the biggest war game, international war games in the world that they do every 2 years. So he was going to be on a ship for 3 weeks, and his ship ended up breaking down. And so he ended up being home. But we were like, we could write back and forth our story together. It was kind of our idea. So we were like, that way we could, have something fun other than just like being on a ship is boring, or I can't tell you what I'm working on, or whatever, and being like, the kids did this today. So we're like, we could, work on our story when we're apart. It's something we could do together when we're not together. So it's kind of how that idea came across. So far, we have characters and a world, and that's it. We don't have really a plot yet, but that's what we have.
I think this is brilliant, though. Like, you're laughing at yourself because it's nerdy or something, but just the concept that you have found something that like really has, maybe someday you'll get a book deal and it will sell, but maybe not, but just something that the simple concept that it's something that you both enjoy doing and you're doing it together. Like, that I think is so brilliant and important.
Yeah.
To do.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I laugh because, it's kind of our silly way of doing it. But I do think it's important that we're like, finding ways to do things we enjoy, even when we're not together, or in different ways than we would normally do it, other than, sitting and watching, movies, which we enjoy. We've spent several nights being like, all right, what would our characters do in this situation? What kind of story could we have our characters go with their motivations that they have? And it's been fun.
Right. And it's like, watching movies together is fine, but
oh yeah, like, it's also great.
How much are you building? Yeah. Like, how much are you building the relationship when you're watching a movie versus like actually doing something together?
Yeah.
But I love that it's so random.
Yes, it is very random.
I think it's awesome. It's just, I've never heard of a couple just writing a book together. Like, at least like not professional authors, like just a couple deciding we're going to write a book together. Like, you guys just got creative and now you're being creative together. Like,
well, thank you.
I just can't say how much I think it's awesome. And now I'm like, I couldn't write a book. My husband's a good writer. But like professional writing type thing. But like, we're never going to write a book. But now I'm trying to think, okay, what random thing, what is something that we both enjoy doing that we could just do together? Like, I don't know. I've got lots of thinking to do though.
Yeah, I think we're very different people in what we normally like to do. He's pretty introverted. He's very nerdy, likes like Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot, which I've gotten into a little bit with him. But I'm very like extroverted and want to do things with people and like, and whatnot. And so we were trying to figure out, how can we take this thing that you usually do on your own and we can do it together. And so it's fun.
I'm just going to keep on saying how awesome I think it is.
Well, thank you.
So good. You've brought up this positive psychology. So how has that positive psychology or that understanding of positive psychology helped you throughout all of this? I know you haven't been in the military very long, but even as professional students, I'm sure he wasn't home all the time. Yeah. So how has positive psychology helped you through all this?
I think the gratitude journal has been a huge thing to like look at the things that I'm grateful for in all the craziness, that's been obviously a really big thing. The other thing is, I feel like this probably just applies to a lot of moms, is that it's really hard to like find your identity sometimes in all the craziness. And having a professional student husband, I mean, he wasn't home very often at all. And having, being a waiting warrior, your husband is, working weird hours, sometimes night shifts, and you're doing, I just can't imagine the people who do all those things. But it's been, they have a lot of other resources and great things. They have something called the Value in Action Character Traits Test, or VIA, and you can take the test and it tells you what your top character traits are. And it's not like a personality test, like, created by like Disney or something. It's like, which, is fun. But this is, scientists have gone and have been like, all right, what are the top character traits that we value across the world and across cultures? And then it gives you your top 5 character strengths. Because I think we so often get bogged down by what we're not doing well and what's not going right and what's hard. And so I took that about when I started doing all this, and it talks about all your top traits and just examples. Some of the traits are bravery or creativity or love or spirituality. And those are just some examples. And there's 25, and we all have all of them. But your top 5 are your signature traits. And one of the ideas in positive psychology is to find new ways to use those signature traits. So I've done things like that. Some of my top traits, one of my top traits is creativity. And so I would try and find a new way to be creative, or just take time to be creative, because that's really hard when you have 2 little kids, to take the time to like do anything that isn't like strictly related to them and their survival within the 12 hours they're alive. And so just saying like, all right, well, we're going to sit down and I'm going to let my 3-year-old use my nice pastel crayons so that I can sit next to him and do something creative with them at the same time. So just finding new ways to use my top character traits it's been really cool to be like, all right, it's important to still remember you have, a personality and things that you need. And I think sometimes we become very self-sacrificing. And not that that's not okay, but it's really important to, take care of ourselves, because that's how we're going to be the best spouse we can be, and the best parents we can be, and just the best, individuals we can be. So I think that that's been huge, to be like, these are my top traits. And it's been nice to focus on the things that make me me, and finding time to focus on me in those new, interesting ways. So,
yeah. That's awesome. So can you think of examples of how you've used the traits differently, like an old way that you were using it versus a new
sure
way that you've done it?
Yeah. So one of my other top traits is love. And obviously, I show love to my children by doing, taking care of them and reading stories to them and all these things. And when I decided to look at love differently, I decided to find songs for my kids. So being like, this is the song that makes me think of you. This is the song that I apply to you because I love you in this. So for my youngest, it's You're My Sunshine. It's just my little ball of sunshine or whatever. And so it's just the song that I applied to him. I was like, this is the song that makes me think of you. And so I sing it, mostly just directly to him, because it's his song. This is how I, kind of say, I love you. This is your song. This is how I'm trying a new way to show love, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's been one way. Another, was spirituality, is another one of my top ones. And I started doing yoga, and I love yoga, and I've always really enjoyed it, but like, it actually is a very spiritual experience for me sometimes. And I didn't ever really think of it that way. I always thought meditation, prayer, all those things, but yoga can actually be what for me is a very spiritual experience. And I didn't use it that way until 4 months ago, where I'm like, I just need some, yoga time, because that's where I can, meditate and, connect with God and whatnot. So that's been another new way.
Awesome. I like it. I'm going to have to look up this positive psychology stuff. Who did you say was the writer again, or author?
So Martin Siegelman is his name. Okay. He's the founder of positive psychology. And there's actually a website called AuthenticHappiness.org, which has all of his resources. He's actually done a lot of work with the Army to help promote well-being. Well, not specifically the Army. He has his research on there. So kind of cool. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll make sure we link all of that in the show notes. If anybody listening wants to look into any of that, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. It's very cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, even just like using your talents, what you're good at. And I really liked what you said about like focusing on just what you're good at as opposed to what you're not, like the whole comparison thing, but then using it differently. Because I think we sometimes get stuck because the way we've been doing it just doesn't seem enough anymore for some reason, whether that's in our own mind. So it's
kind of like stretching a new muscle or an old muscle, right? Like you run every day, that muscle gets used to running. You have to, cross train, I guess, with our character traits as well. Of all the analogies. Yes.
Okay. Last and final question. What is your key to thriving that you want to share with waiting warriors?
Key to thriving. I think I learned a while ago to just mind the gap is a big thing for me. I feel like we have, all these things we want to succeed in and do and accomplish every day. And some days are just hard. Some days, like your kids just watch TV all day because you just can't handle it. Or, you take care of your kids, but you haven't showered or whatever it happens to be in the day. But I think minding the gap, just be focusing on, what you have accomplished and not focusing so much on, the negative. So, when there will always be something in the day that we have not accomplished. And I think sometimes we make it this big chasm that's like all we see. So being like, what did I accomplish today? What was the thing that I was able to do today? So I think that's huge for me to be like, all right, well, I did this. And so, that was on my list and it got done. And I don't need to worry about the 12 other things that didn't happen today. Just taking it as it comes.
I like that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Krista. I have learned a lot today, and I know I'm going to go look up positive psychology, and I want to start a happiness journal and all that kind of stuff. I've just I can tell just by talking to you that is something that will help, especially just in the situation that we're in with the added stressors and just the more, I guess, just pressure on me, but I'm excited.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Well, thank you for letting me talk on your show. I've liked listening to it, so it's fun to be on.
Okay. I'm glad somebody's enjoying it. Okay. Well, for all you waiting warriors out there, I will see you, hear you, or you'll hear me, I guess, next week. I'll talk to you next week. Again, thank you, Krista. Oh, Krista, if somebody wants to connect with you, talk to you more about positive psychology or anything like that, how could they connect with you?
They could either contact me, I guess, on Instagram or email me. So either of the two.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I will link all the stuff in the show notes about positive psychology. And again, thank you so much, Krista. It was great having you on the show.
Thank you, Michelle.